Hey, it's Kendrick with Technology Interpreters, and so today I got a special guest. His name is Fred Morton. He's somebody that's definitely made an impact on my life. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about his path into cybersecurity and hopefully give you some tidbits that might help you to be able to break into the field or advance into the field. So Fred, first of all, thank you for coming on the YouTube channel to talk about this. This will also be on LinkedIn. So tell us a little bit about your history.
Hey, Kendrick, first, thank you for having me on your platform. I really appreciate you inviting me. And I'm surprised that you find me interesting enough to have on your show, but thank you for having me anyway.
My pleasure. Well, you're definitely an interesting guy. So you've reached a tier where you're able to be considered an expert in the field. So tell us about your history.
I actually got into IT and cybersecurity in a roundabout way. Actually, my formal education is in child development, psychology, and industrial organizational.
Okay, that's a huge title, man.
So when I got out of college, I had hopes and dreams of doing human factors, really doing employee workforce improvement, that sort of thing. And I ended up working for a recruiting and staffing company, placing people in IT and cybersecurity jobs. Well, I worked in a small shop at that time, so there was an opportunity for me to assist the network administrator there to do some basic backups and that sort of thing. But the day came where he decided to leave the organization, and I was the one with the most experience in helping support the basic operations. But I fell in love with it, and it just made sense. So around that time, that's when some of the first programs came about that you could learn some networking, understand the TCP/IP stack, how devices communicated with one another. So I took the leap and I decided to enroll in a program at Vanderbilt University, and I received certifications, and that's when I made the leap. Right after that, I had the opportunity to get on board at one of the local record labels here that was looking for someone to do some basic help desk and network support. And I was able to convince them that I was the person for the role. And what helped me get that role was the unique perspective that I brought from having that formal education in psychology and then combining that with my technical training as well to show them that I was able to work with the employees, the customers, whoever it was that I had to deal with from a support perspective, and be able to not be that stereotypical tech person that's grumpy, only comes out of the server room when they just absolutely have to. That goes to say, understand who you are as a person when you're going into this space, and it's okay to be quirky. It's okay to be geeky or whatever it is, but just embrace whatever it is that you are, and don't try to fit the mold that you think you may need to be in a position. Embrace whatever it is that you are so that your uniqueness can shine in that position and make you outshine the competition for that position that you may be going for within cybersecurity.
Let's kind of first of all talk about the area of cyber that you work in or have worked in, and then the certifications that you value that supported you being able to transition into those roles.
My career started, like I mentioned, with network support. So I had the certifications for the platforms that were prevalent that ran businesses' infrastructure. Then during that period, when I was working in the entertainment industry, attacks started coming out more and more that were attacking email systems, and it started becoming much more malicious. And so the attacks started mutating so that they were disrupting operations. And so once that bottom line starts getting impacted by businesses and companies, they want to start formalizing the approach and try to get into more of a risk management posture to reduce the likelihood of those attacks taking place. That meant having to look into some of the certifications that were coming out. One of the first was the EC Council Ethical Hacking course, which was one of the ones that I took to start exposing myself to some of those attack methodologies and looking at what bad actors were doing on the underground. But there again, you start getting into the why the business is concerned about. So you look at how the business has to operate. And so what started to happen beyond that, the businesses started taking more of a risk-based approach to that. Understanding how the business operates and understanding how they move and how to address that risk in a formal way required understanding frameworks. And those frameworks involve things like the NIST cybersecurity framework, the high trust framework from a healthcare perspective. So there are a number of frameworks that are industry specific, and it helps you understand the business's why and how you can help enable their why from a cybersecurity perspective. So that includes technical controls and administrative controls. So the technical controls is what everybody really understands and gravitates to from a cybersecurity perspective. But there are other aspects from an administrative piece, which is not so fun and sexy, but it involves the policy piece of it, roles, responsibilities, who's responsible for what, how that reporting happens, and how the businesses have to report back to stakeholders, and what actions are being taken from a technical perspective and administrative perspective to help reduce that risk.
It's talking about those frameworks. What are some of the frameworks that you encourage people to become familiar with?
CMMC is one of the newest ones that's starting to become adopted and get a lot of traction. Of course, the NIST cybersecurity framework is always going to be the OGs of frameworks and really recognized across several platforms. And what you start seeing is that there's some overlap. And one term that you'll hear in this space quite often is doing a crosswalk of frameworks, where you'll have an industry where they may accept credit cards. They have to adhere to PCI compliance. Well, maybe they do healthcare as well. So they'll have HIPAA and high trust overlaid on top of that. And what you see, if you would overlay them on top of each other or do that crosswalk, there are similarities across all of them, but yet there are differences per each framework. Having a basic understanding of how businesses look at risk. Who are the threat actors that are going to start coming after you? Are they from a specific region? That just gives you a high level of how that works.
For those that are fresh out of school, and then those have been working for some time but are in another field other than cybersecurity, what advice do you give them as far as their path into cyber from your perspective?
One, take some time to think and understand who you are and what drives you, how you're wired. After you understand what it is that you want to go into and you've done that thought exercise, I'm going to recommend something that you may not be a big fan of, Kendrick, and that's to go after that Security Plus or one of the CompTIA certifications just to get that basic understanding. And yes, it's an investment, but then on the other side, you have to look at, how much money do we spend on entertainment and those sort of things. You also have free resources like the Khan Academy and those different things, and podcasts like yours that educate people. Whatever it is, whatever path you decide to go down, make sure you invest the time into doing it. I'm sure we've all seen the studies that it takes 10,000 hours to master something. You really have to invest the time to really dig deep into whatever it is you're interested in. And then once you feel like you reach that level of mastery, don't stop there. Look at some of the parallel or adjacent disciplines that are related to yours that can further your career as well. Also, talk to people. So is it knowledge driven? Yes. But the other aspect of it is that it's relationship driven. Having conversations with sharp guys like Kendrick that have been in the industry for a long time, it's invaluable. Have lunch with somebody. And when you're looking to mentor with someone, instead of approaching that conversation with taking knowledge from them, try to find out a way that you can assist them in what they're doing. How can I help you so that I can learn? So there's an even exchange. The best way to approach that conversation, instead of just, taking from them, hey, I'm interested in this field, but I would like to assist you in accomplishing these tasks so that I can learn. And so when you approach it with the attitude that you're there to help and assist, you're more likely to have more doors open for you.
That is something I've not really heard anybody say. That's huge. Not just coming in and say, hey, I just want to siphon your brain. Thank you for being a resource for me. Let me use you and move on to the next person. Right. I agree wholeheartedly, because this is all about relationships. And most time you're very likely to get your next cybersecurity job through a person that you know. And if people see you as somebody who's just always taking, then that does kind of leave a bad taste in their mouth. They'll help you, but you'll go a lot further if you can kind of become a part of their life and bring something, and it becomes a mutually beneficial situation. So, Fred, anything else that we didn't cover that you'd like to share before we close out today?
Never forget the human element, whether it be the person that you're working with, yourself, your boss, your co-workers. It's a good idea to understand and develop those relationships, because the knowledge that you gain for those around you, when you surround yourself with people that are moving in the direction that you want to go in, your direction will change. There's a phrase I always hear: you can determine where you're going by your 5 closest friends or your 5 closest associates. And I think that really needs to be taken to the heart nowadays.
Yeah. Okay, what a closing. And for those of you that are still watching, I've got PowerShell tutorials, I've got hacking tutorials, I've got general cybersecurity tutorials. Feel free to just browse the channel. I make all content that will definitely help you to get a job in this field. Start getting connected on LinkedIn, get your LinkedIn completed, fill it out, put your experience there. You need to build a network of cybersecurity professionals, and I'm very proud and thankful to have Fred as a part of my network now. And so if you have any questions, I'm going to have links to his resources. So I don't know which one I'm going to put, so that's why I'm not going to say in the video, but I'm going to have links to his resources. But always feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. And thanks for watching.